The girl was pregnant with 3 snake eggs, but her belly was frighteningly distended. This was because she was the only female in the tribe who couldn't get enough to eat. Other females had their husbands go hunting every day, but because she was so thin and ugly, no male wanted her. Although she could endure starving for 3 days and eating only 9 meals, the 3 snake cubs in her belly couldn't. Just as they were about to die from malnutrition, a 9-tiered profound king snake in a certain cave suddenly opened its eyes. It actually sensed its own bloodline, and it was 3 cubs, all on the verge of starvation. The next second, it instantly transformed into its true form and rushed out of the cave. It had thought it would be a lone beast for life, but now it seemed it had to fulfill its responsibility as a mate. It turned out that just a month ago, when Qianqian had just transmigrated to the beast world, she was forcibly approached by a snake beastman and lost her virginity. She cried and struggled, but it was all in vain. Later, when the snake beastman was away, she secretly ran off. Following the route from her memory, she took a shortcut home. When she returned home, she was stunned. There was no home, just a dilapidated mountain cave with nothing but a straw nest inside. Qianqian's tears flowed uncontrollably. She was crying for the original owner, who had a miserable life. Because she was too thin, she couldn't find a beast mark in the tribe, so no male would go hunting for her. She worried about food every day. Qianqian came to the stream behind the mountain again. These days, she had been filling her stomach by catching fish. She didn't know why, but her appetite had been particularly large these past 2 days. Before, 1 fish could last a day, but now 2 fish weren't enough. For a while, she continuously searched for food. The fish in the stream were almost all eaten by her. Therefore, she planned to go deeper into the forest to look. Not long after walking, she encountered a huge chestnut tree. She picked a full basket. In just a short while, she was already hungry. Qianqian walked back, rubbing her rumbling stomach. She was truly puzzled. After returning to the tribe, she had secretly wandered around it, and after this walk, no other beastmen seemed to notice her presence. Then she discovered that almost all the females in the tribe had several partners. One female even had 20 mates. Females raised by 20 males were well-fed and strong. As long as they had powerful mates, they didn't have to worry about food, drink, or clothing. Females only needed to take good care of their cubs at home. In fact, though it was called taking care of cubs, most of the cub-carrying work fell to the males. They were just responsible for eating, drinking, and having fun. Here, partners were the most leisurely, and even children couldn't compare to partners. The more Qianqian thought about it, the more melancholy she became. She accepted the fact of transmigration and the fact of living in this beast world, but now she could barely even feed herself. Thinking about it, she couldn't help but cry again. This is too hard. Seeing them eat meat, I want to eat too. Meanwhile, on the other side, the snake beastman continued hunting as usual. After eating his fill, he returned to the cave to sleep. He had just closed his eyes to go to sleep, but the next second, he opened them in shock. He had just felt the power of his bloodline. It was his bloodline. He suddenly remembered the absurd copulation a month ago, which had taken place in this very cave. That day, after he finished hunting and had a full meal, he returned to the cave to prepare for sleep. Because there was a female in the cave, he rested in his human form. As he slept, his body inexplicably grew hot, and the female sleeping beside him inexplicably attracted him. In the end, he couldn't control himself. He still remembered how that extremely thin female cried beneath him. Xuanqi never expected that just this one time, she would become pregnant with his bloodline. Xuanqi closed his eyes and began to carefully sense the bloodline power, and this shocked him again. He had just felt 3 bloodline powers. That thin female had actually conceived 3 of his snake eggs. He had never heard of a female conceiving 3 eggs. It was a miracle. He quickly transformed into his true form and rushed out of the cave to hunt. He was going to hunt the tenderest wild beast. He was afraid his cubs would die in the womb. The Xuan King snake clan was powerful, and pregnant mothers needed a large amount of nutrition to sustain themselves. If the fetuses lacked energy, they would die along with the mother. When Xuanqi thought of that extremely thin physique, his heart became anxious. Such a frail body, yet she conceived his bloodline with just 1 try and even conceived 3. Today was the 30th day of the pregnancy. Is she eating enough? Thinking about it, Xuanqi decided to hunt 2 more beasts. On the other side, Qianqian picked up a smaller rattan hat, intending to go to a watery place outside to see if there was anything to catch. Perhaps Qianqian's home was really too remote. The further Changqian walked, the more she could hear cheers and screams, as if celebrating something. When she reached the front, she saw that the large open space in the middle of the tribe was filled with beastmen. The males looked excited, and the females looked admiring. Qianqian followed their worshipful gazes. In the center of the open space stood the chief and a handsome male. This male was about 1.9 meters tall, with a muscular 8-pack body and handsome, neat golden short hair. Qianqian looked to the side, patted a kind-looking female opposite her, and asked, "Hello, what's going on here? Did something good happen?" Coral was startled by the sudden pat on the shoulder. She looked at the person and was startled again. How can there be such a thin female in the tribe? She looks like a walking skeleton, as if a layer of skin has been peeled off. Coral looked at her with some pity. "Who are you? I've never seen you before." Qianqian was embarrassed by her gaze. She scratched her head and said apologetically, "My name is Qianqian. I live at the very end of the tribe. I don't usually come out. My body isn't well, so I can't walk too far. It's normal that you haven't seen me. I'm sorry to bother you." After Qianqian's actions, Coral's heart ached. She knew who this female beastman in front of her was. A female picked up by the tribe, arranged to live in the mountain cave at the very end of the tribe. At the coming-of-age ceremony, she was the only beastman not proposed to by a male, so she couldn't join the tribe. Coral hadn't expected this female to be living so poorly, as thin as a cub. Coral explained with reddened eyes. A 7-tiered warrior has just been born in the tribe. Among the surrounding tribes, only our Lion King tribe has produced a 7-tiered warrior, so the chief has ordered everyone to celebrate. Qianqian thought for a moment, and only then recalled a small piece of information about the power levels of male beastmen. Most male beastmen are born with a power level, and most are 1 or 2 tiers. Those with 3 tiers can be considered prodigies. However, one can also improve their rank through hunting or absorbing energy. But each tier is like a chasm, and the higher the tier, the more terrifying the power. To be 7 tiers at such a young age is truly amazing. Qianqian affirmed and then immediately asked about a serious matter. "What should I call you? I want to ask where you all go to bathe." At these words, Coral felt even sorrier for her. She didn't even know where to bathe. "My name is Coral. Are you going to the water? I happen to be going too. We can go together." Hearing her answer, Qianqian's eyes lit up. Great, someone to lead the way. But the next second, she heard Coral shout, "Please, come quickly, we're going to the water!" Then Qianqian saw a tall, handsome man walking towards them. When he reached Coral, he transformed into a giant golden lion. Qianqian was stunned. Coral looked at the big lion quiz. "You see how thin she is? She also wants to go to the water. Can you give her a ride?" In the beast world, males with partners were not allowed to let other females ride on their beast forms. That was considered betrayal. However, since it was his partner asking, and this female looked too pitiful, Quize readily agreed. Then, Qianqian got a free ride. Along the way, Coral looked at her with sympathetic eyes, which made Qianqian feel a bit awkward, but her heart was warm. Coral said gently, "I've almost never seen you in the tribe. You should come out more often. What if a beastman takes a liking to you?" Qianqian didn't speak for a moment, just lowered her head. After a long time, she softly said, "I'm too thin. No beastman will like me. If they would, it would have happened on the day of the coming-of-age ceremony." Coral was momentarily a bit awkward. Then she smiled again. "Then let's get you fatter first. I have 5 mates, and they are all very strong. I'll ask them to hunt an extra portion when they go hunting and send it to your house." Hearing her words, Qianqian suddenly looked up. Perhaps it was because she had been suppressed for too long, but tears immediately fell. She had lived alone in this beast world for 20 or 30 days without friends or partners, not getting enough to eat or wear. Every day she woke up worrying about food. Now the beastman she had just met actually said her partners would hunt an extra portion for her. She was an angel. Hey, don't cry. I won't give it if you cry, don't cry." The words, "I won't give it," made Qianqian stop crying. "Huh? What did you say?" Coral saw that she immediately stopped crying and quickly said again, don't cry, I won't give it." Qianqian's mouth twitched twice. However, she originally hadn't intended to let someone else's husband support her. How awkward would that be? Soon they reached their destination. Qianqian looked at the huge waterfall not far away and twitched her mouth, looking at Coral. "You call this the water? This is the water. All the surrounding tribes use water from here. Come on, let's go wash. Coral asked her partner to pick her up later, and then pulled Qianqian to a shallower part of the water. While washing, Qianqian sighed inwardly. I won't be able to catch any shrimp today. She hadn't expected this water to be a big waterfall. Her current position was not far from the bottom of the waterfall. There was no shrimp here. After cleaning up, Coral looked at her thin figure where her bones were clearly visible. Her heart ached again. Qianqian, come to my house for dinner tonight. My mates hunted a huge old bull, and my several mates and I can't finish it all. Come and eat with us. Qianqian's eyes immediately lit up. That's great! I don't have to go hungry tonight. Qianqian smiled and said, okay, thank you, Coral. I'll bring you something good to eat another day. After saying this, Coral immediately turned around, her body trembling slightly. At this moment, tears welled up in Coral's eyes. The girl had just said she would bring her something good to eat, yet she was so thin herself. She truly was kind. Qianqian at this moment had no idea that without doing anything, she had captured a loving heart. While happy, Qianqian was also looking for a good flat stone. She wanted to make a stone griddle. Unfortunately, until evening, when Coral's mate came to pick them up, Qianqian still hadn't found a suitable stone. Perhaps it was the usual time for hunters to return, and with everyone still celebrating earlier, the central part of the tribe was still very crowded. As they walked into the tribe, Qianqian felt many gazes on them. A full-figured female with dark skin looked at Qianqian with disgust and said, Coral, what's going on? You actually let another female sit on your mate's back. Coral's face turned cold, and she retorted unceremoniously, None of your business? I don't mind, and my mate doesn't mind either. Do your outside beasts mind? She scoffed. But the dark-skinned female, China, wouldn't back down. Who is this? I've never seen anyone so thin. She's ugly. And where's your mate? Wait, I remember now. Isn't this that beast who lives at the end of the tribe? The one no beastman wanted at the coming-of-age ceremony. Clina said to Coral with disdain, Coral, you're one of the most beautiful females in the tribe. Why are you hanging out with this ugly thing? At this point, Coral was thoroughly angered. She patted her lion mate, signaling him to put her down. Qianqian also jumped off the lion. What she didn't expect was that as soon as Coral got down, she walked straight over to that female and slapped her, then kicked her to the ground, getting on top of her to beat her. The incident was sudden. Queena's mates immediately stepped forward to pull Coral away. Huize, with a flash, moved to block them, his eyes filled with ferocity. In the beast world, females could fight, but males couldn't help or lay hands on a female. As long as there was any intention to act, the male of the other side would immediately step forward and fight them. What does female-on-female fighting have to do with you males? China yelled, Mushan, what good are you? Are you just gonna watch me get beaten? Her mate, named Mushan, was currently being held down by Huize, unable to move. Hearing the commotion, Queena's other mate rushed over, about to step forward when Huize coldly said, Have you forgotten the rules? If you dare touch Coral, be careful. Yingfeng will break your legs. Yingfeng was Coral's first mate and a 6-tiered beastman. Lingxi looked heartbroken at China, who was being pinned down and beaten on the ground. He turned his head away, clenching his fists tightly. The rules had to be followed, and he couldn't beat Yingfeng anyway. Coral sat on China, using one hand to hold down both of China's hands, while her other hand swung back and forth, slapping her. Let your mouth be rotten. Usually I don't bother with you, even if you're jealous. But now you're pushing your luck, aren't you? It's one thing to talk about me, but you dare talk about Qianqian? See if I don't beat you to death today. You infuriate me. Coral cursed as she beat her. At this moment, Coral was like a mother beast protecting her cub Qianqian. If you're not convinced, let your mates fight my mates. I'll see how smug you can be. Coral was full of confidence. Her first mate was a 6-tiered beastman, and her other 4 mates were all 5-tiered. She was considered very powerful in the tribe, yet there was someone foolish enough to provoke her. Qianqian was completely bewildered by everything happening before her eyes. Coral looked gentle and sweet, but she was unexpectedly fierce. Quickly went to break up the fight. The number of onlookers was growing. Qianqian hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Coral's arm. Coral, stop fighting! Oh my, get up, get up! Coral, startled by the pull, stopped her hands, afraid of hurting Qianqian. She stood up, looked coldly at the onlookers, and declared fiercely, From today onwards, Qianqian is under my protection. If I find out anyone dares to bully her, Whether male or female, I will not let them off. At this moment, Qian was almost in tears. This was too cool. Having just met her, she was doing this much for her. Hearing his partner's words, Guize looked at Qian next to him and frowned. As soon as Coral stood up, Kina's mates immediately surrounded her, hugging her protectively. Her entire face was swollen from the beating. However, unexpectedly, China backhanded two of her mates, slapping each of them. Useless! You can't even protect your own partner! The two mates were shocked, their eyes full of hurt. They never expected her to treat them this way, but they had no choice. In the beast world, there were more males and fewer females. If they wanted offspring, they just had to endure this. After this incident, Qian felt too awkward to impose for dinner anymore. No matter how warmly Coral invited her, she still refused. She was already very happy today. After returning home, Qian first went to the stream behind the mountain to check the situation. Fortunately, there was a fish in her rattan basket. Tonight's dinner was secured. She quickly brought the fish home to process it, then started rubbing sticks to make fire and prepare to roast the fish. Meanwhile, outside the Lion King tribe, the males all felt a strong pressure from a high-ranking beastman. The chief and his son, Hanchuan, who was the 7-tiered warrior who were eating, immediately stopped what they were doing and were about to go out when they met a beastman who came to deliver a message. Chief, there's a beastman at the tribe entrance who says he wants to see you. Lishan and Hanchuan hurried towards the tribe entrance. At this moment, Lishan's heart was very tense. Judging by the strength of this pressure, the other party's rank was even higher than his son's. But why would such a powerful individual come to their tribe? Qian was completely unaware of the tense atmosphere at the entrance. She was carefully roasting her fish. She had just thought that she could throw chestnuts into the fire to roast and eat them. This made her very happy. The fish was roasted. Qian squatted on the ground, carefully eating the roasted fish. But as she ate, a sudden noise came from afar, growing louder. Xuanqi never expected to see her in such a pitiful state. The thin, skeletal figure was squatting on the ground, holding a roasted spiny beast. She was peeling it off, little by little to eat. Who eats spiny beasts? Only those beastmen who can't hunt anything else eat that stuff! It was the lowest grade food option in the beast world. In an instant, his heart ached a little. Lishan, behind him, was stunned. Someone clearly sent meat, so why is this female still so thin? She's even reduced to eating spiny beasts to fill her stomach. Xuanqi was truly angry. In an instant, he released a powerful pressure. Is this how your tribe treats females? She's even a pregnant female, and you let her eat spiny beasts? This pressure made Lishan and Hanchuan, who had followed him, unable to move, even bending at the waist. Chief Lishan was greatly alarmed. This beastman is actually a 9-tiered beastman. A 7-tiered beastman is already a top contender on this continent. A 9-tiered beastman. He couldn't even imagine it. Hanchuan was also stunned the first time he saw Qian. How could there be such a thin female in the tribe, so miserable that she has to eat spiny beasts to survive? And she's pregnant. He thought that he should properly patrol the tribe, because recently, due to being busy with advancement, he hadn't properly patrolled the tribe, which led to a female being treated so badly. Qian was eating her fish happily, but interrupted by the commotion, she looked up at the newcomer. In just a second, the fish she was holding almost dropped to the ground. Luckily, she steadied it. Seeing her fumbling to protect the spiny beast, and then seeing many hairballs on the ground, she even picked those up to eat. As a beastman who had always lived a solitary nomadic life, he had never thought of settling down and having children. So when he returned from hunting that day and couldn't find her, he didn't think much of it. But now, seeing her like this, he actually regretted why he hadn't gone looking for her. After all, she was his female. Qian stuttered when she saw him. How did you get here? Why is he here? Does he seem like he's looking for trouble? Hearing her words, Xuanqi withdrew his pressure, quickly walked over, and pulled her into a tight embrace. My dear. The man's hand rested on her belly, then slowly infused energy. Qian suddenly felt so comfortable. Her hunger had lessened considerably. Xuanqi took a huge piece of wild beast meat from his spatial storage and threw it to the chief, saying, Arrange a large mountain cave for me, prepare everything I need, and then have Wu Yi from your tribe come over immediately. Lishan looked at the meat in shock. That was meat only found in the misty forest. A piece that big could sell for at least 300 spirit stones. As expected of a 9-tiered beastman, He turned to instruct his son. Han Chuan, quickly arrange a cave and then immediately invite Wu Yi over. Han Chuan responded and immediately transformed into his beast form, running back. Immediately after, Li Shan said to Xuanqi, keep this meat to eat. It's all my fault for not managing the tribe well, which caused the female to live such a difficult life. You're Qianqian, right? I apologize to you, it's my mismanagement. From today onwards, you'll recuperate well in the tribe. I'll have my son Han Xuan send things over. Xuanqi scoffed lightly. Who cares about your things? With me, what kind of prey can't be caught? You just need to arrange what I said. Li Shan said with a fawning smile. Yes, 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 I'll definitely arrange it for you. Qianqian was utterly bewildered the whole time. Why is this beastman here? And the chief is bowing and scraping to him. When she was eating the fish earlier, she heard them say something about a pregnant female. Qianqian suddenly looked at her own belly. What? Pregnant? She asked, trembling a little. What did you just say? I'm pregnant? Feeling her trembling body, the man held her tighter. Yes, mine. 3 of them. Qianqian's eyes rolled back and she fainted directly. Before losing consciousness, only one thought ran through her mind. It's over! When Qianqian woke up, she was being held in the man's arms, and in front of them was a very old man. The female elder was feeling her pulse. Wu Yi was a little shocked. This thin female actually possessed such powerful fertility. She knew how difficult it was for the profound king snake clan to reproduce. Usually, it was 1 cub per birth. But now, this little female was carrying 3 cubs, and each of them was very healthy. Wu Yi looked at Qianqian kindly. Your babies are very healthy. I'll prescribe some medicine for you. Drink it for 4 days straight. It'll be good for both you and the cubs. Qianqian was a little depressed. No wonder she always got hungry so quickly and didn't gain weight despite eating so much. It was all being eaten up by the little ones in her belly. The next second, Granny Wu Yi smiled again. Do you want an imprint? I can give you an imprint. Qianqian was bewildered again. What's an imprint? In the end, Qianqian got the imprint in a daze. After the imprint, a snake mark appeared on her chest, and a rabbit mark appeared on the beastman's chest. Qianqian, in a daze, became a mated beast, and her husband was incredibly powerful. However, when she learned that her husband was a snake beastman, and that she was pregnant with 3 small snakes, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted again. When she woke up again, she was in an unfamiliar cave. She was lying on a soft straw nest. Her tools were neatly placed to one side. There was also a large stone table in the cave with a pile of fruits on it. Usually, she would be especially hungry when she woke up, even to the point of her stomach hurting. But today, she wasn't. She felt so amazing. Could it be because the baby's father had arrived, and the little cubs sensed his presence? At this moment, a shout came from outside the cave. Qianqian, are you awake? Hearing this, Qianqian walked out of the cave and saw Coral and her mate waiting for her at the entrance. Seeing her come out, Coral happily stepped forward and linked arms with her. Do you like this cave? I decorated it for you. When I heard Han Chuan say he wanted to arrange the cave for you, I volunteered to do it. Qianqian smiled and looked at her. Thank you, I'm living very well, I like it a lot. Suddenly, Coral leaned in and whispered slyly to her, Qianqian, you found such an amazing mate. From now on, no one will dare to bully you. Qianqian was confused. How amazing is amazing? I don't seem to have any memory of this. Did I forget? Coral said seriously. Let's just say this. You can walk sideways across this forest. In fact, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say you can walk sideways across the entire southern continent. Holy crap, that awesome? Qianqian habitually blurted out the expletive. Coral suddenly pulled her, walking towards a nearby cave, saying, You must be hungry, right? Your mate told our family that he had to go back to get some things, and he asked me to look after you. Your mate gave me a huge piece of wild beast meat. You can eat with me today, eat your fill. It was only then that Qianqian realized Coral was her neighbor. That's great! Upon arriving at Coral's home, the male mate was cooking. Seeing them enter, Quize, the mate they had seen that day, immediately said, Dinner's ready! Coral excitedly pulled her to a seat. The other 5 mates sat to the side. As they ate, the scene became a little strange. The mates served Coral, and Coral, in turn, served Qianqian. This made her feel a little torn between laughter and tears. Tonight, they were eating roasted meat. Just like before, the meat had no flavor and was even a bit fishy. But Changqian still forced herself to eat it. Changqian looked at the cooking tools in Coral's house. They were only for roasting meat. It seemed they didn't understand what cooking was yet. Changqian asked, "Do you all only eat roasted food?" Coral nodded. The other mates' faces were full of curiosity, clearly very puzzled by Changqian's question because everyone ate that way. "I'll teach you a new way to eat, but first, we need a stone pot. With a stone pot, we can boil things like soup. Drinking hot soup can warm you up in the cold." As soon as she said this, all the beastmen present's eyes lit up. "Warm up in the cold? That's too good!" Coral asked confusedly. "Changqian, what's a stone pot?" Coral's question made her a little unsure how to answer. Changqian thought for a moment and then said, "Your mates should be able to use their abilities to carve stones, right?" "Of course! My first mate, Yingfeng, is a 6-tiered warrior. His ability is wind. He can cut anything." Changqian heard this and said, "Then it's easy. Coral, let's go to the water. I checked the place where we bathed last time, and there are some big rocks perfect for making pots." Not long after, Changqian, Coral, and her mates arrived at the water's edge. The mates first carried 2 large pebbles onto the shore, and then Changqian began to direct Yingfeng to cut and make the stone pots. After they were made, they were even polished into a smooth shape. Soon, 2 excellent quality stone pots were completed. Changqian even made 2 sets of stone tableware. Spoons, plates, rice bowls, and soup bowls, all arranged. Seeing that it wasn't dark yet, Changqian suggested they wander around nearby to see if there were any good things. And sure enough, she actually discovered chili peppers and ginger. Changqian's heart was incredibly excited. With ginger, she could eat meat without the fishy smell. She picked some chili peppers, then had Coral's other mates carefully dig up the roots. She wanted to take them back to plant, then the group returned home, laden with their harvest. Coral's mates each took on a task. One immediately started a fire, one cleaned the stone pot, and one, as she instructed, cut the meat, ginger, and chili peppers. Changqian saw the mate cleaning the pot, and with a slight movement of his finger, water appeared out of thin air and filled the stone pot. Having this water ability is really great. She thought she would also find a beastman with a water ability later, so she wouldn't have to worry about water. The meat was placed in cold water, and 2 slices of ginger were added. When the water boiled, foam rose to the surface. Changqian used a spoon to skim off the foam. Once it was clean, it was a pot of clear meat broth. At this point, Coral brought out the salt. Qian looked at the salt. It was yellow coarse salt, but better than nothing. Changqian pinched a small amount with her fingertips and put it into the soup, just to season it. Changqian served a bowl of meat broth to each beastman. They all expressed great excitement. Everyone took a sip of the soup, then their eyes widened in surprise. The meat had no fishy smell at all and was very fresh. Coral drank the meat broth while looking at her with admiration. "Changqian, you're amazing. You know so much." Next, Changqian also showed them how to render oil. The oil was extracted by frying the fattiest parts of wild beast meat. The aroma of this oil made the beastmen drool. Finally, Changqian used the freshly rendered beast oil to pan-fry a tender piece of meat, seasoning it with the only salt and chili peppers available. The group of beastmen ate with immense satisfaction, calling out in delight. Coral ate until her belly was round. It was the first time she had tasted such delicious food. The meat had no fishy smell, was tender and fragrant, and she had discovered new foods. "What a rough life we used to live," she thought. "Changqian, you're truly amazing." Changqian smiled and replied, "If you like it, eat more." Then Changqian also advised Coral's mates. "Coral likes to eat so much. You all really need to learn." The males nodded repeatedly. After a busy day, Changqian was tired, so she went home to sleep. Pregnant people really do just fall asleep as soon as they hit the bed. In a daze in the middle of the night, she felt someone embracing her, his hand gently stroking her belly, but she was too sleepy and quickly fell back asleep. Quangshen had a rare good night's sleep. She sat up in her nest and stretched, only to suddenly realize that she wasn't wearing yesterday's animal skin. The material felt like sand. It was more comfortable and cooler than animal skin. Changqian suddenly paused. Could it be that beastman changed my clothes? He's my husband, it's normal, it's normal. Changqian comforted herself. She tidied herself up and got out of bed, then walked outside. When Changqian came out, she saw that her husband was actually learning to cook with Yingfeng. It was only then that Qian realized how incredibly handsome her husband was. She hadn't really paid much attention when they first met. When they first met, she had just transmigrated and was still in shock, so she had no mind to appreciate handsome men. The second time they met was when the chief came with him. She was eating at the time and was startled when she suddenly saw him. She even thought he had come for revenge for her secretly running away. After all, there was an unwritten rule in the beast world. If a male found a female outside, and if the male was single, then the female was his partner. She had to admit, now that she looked closely, her husband was truly unbelievably handsome. That demon-like face, that physique. Qianqian's gaze inexplicably drifted to a certain spot. If she wasn't mistaken, there were two of them there. Qianqian quietly blushed. Suddenly something trickled to her mouth. She was about to reach out to touch it, but in an instant she was scooped up into the man's arms. In the blink of an eye, Qianqian appeared before the witch doctor. It was only then that she saw the blood on her hand. Oh no, how did I get a nosebleed just from looking at a handsome guy? Xuanqi held her, looking at the witch doctor with urgency and alarm. Quickly, check on her. Why is she suddenly bleeding? Qianqian was so mortified, she wanted to find a hole to crawl into. She tugged at his arm and whispered, "I'm fine, I'm just a little excited." Xuanqi looked puzzled. Excited? Why excited? Is this meat so delicious? Then I'll go catch more later. At this, Qianqian was truly speechless. This was the bad thing about beastmen in the beast world. Sometimes they were very difficult to communicate with. Qianqian thought for a moment, then blushing signaled him to bend down. Then she leaned in and whispered in his ear, I just thought you were too handsome. I got excited for a moment. I'm fine, let's go back quickly." Xuanqi heard her words and couldn't help but laugh and cry. It was the first time he'd heard of a beast man bleeding from looking at a handsome guy. At the same time, a smile couldn't help but appear on his lips. Wu Yi looked at their affectionate interaction and smiled kindly. "Since you're here, let me check again." Xuanqi held her and stepped forward, then knelt down in front of Wu Yi so that the person in his arms would be more comfortable. Lin Jian also obediently extended her hand for Wu Yi to check her pulse. Your body was lacking before because you weren't eating enough. Now that you're pregnant, you know that the cubs in your belly absorb a lot. You must make sure to eat and drink enough every day. The medicine I prescribed earlier must be taken every day. Not a single day can be missed. You're too thin now because you're not getting enough energy. Qianqian was still a little confused. Granny, do you mean that the nutrition I'm getting now still isn't enough? Everything I eat is absorbed by the cubs, so that's why I'm not gaining weight. Is that what you mean? Wu Yi withdrew her hand, looking at him kindly. Yes, you could say that. Your mate is from the profound King Snake clan. Their kind has extremely strong innate abilities. Even as cubs, they need to absorb a lot of energy. If they don't absorb enough, they'll start absorbing the mother's energy. But don't worry too much. Your mate is very powerful, so you completely don't have to worry about food. Just remember not to hate the cubs because of their unconscious absorption, okay? Once you have enough energy and the cubs have absorbed enough, you'll gain weight. Meanwhile, Xuanqi tightened his grip on her hand even more. Inside, he felt both nervous and afraid. He had finally overlooked the fact that their mating wasn't natural. He had forced it. Although he had found a female in the beast world and was a single beast, meaning she was technically his female, mating still required the female's consent. The man's hand slowly tightened on hers. Qianqian thought he was worried she would hate the cubs. She placed her hand on his and said, "You don't have to worry. I won't hate the cubs. They're my cubs. I love them too much." Hearing her words, Xuanqi's eyes reddened and his nose felt a little sore. He softly asked, "She's really good." They walked back. He carried her, and as Qianqian was in his arms, she felt like she had forgotten something. After thinking for a long time, she finally realized she didn't even know her husband's name. Qianqian started to act a little childish. "You didn't even tell me your name." "It's ridiculous that I'm pregnant with cubs out of nowhere, and I don't even know what the cub's father's name is. Is that reasonable?" Xuanqi listened to her complaints, a smile playing on his lips. Then he became serious again. "My fault. I didn't do well. My name is Xuanqi. I'm a 9-tiered beastman, and my beast form is a snake. That damned voice. What was this kind of voice called in my previous life? Soothing voice? Yes, soothing voice. It's so damn good to hear." She absolutely loved it. Xuanqi's expression deepened, and he held the person in his arms a little tighter. His voice was filled with guilt. Yes, It was wrong of me to force you to mate. But I want to explain, it wasn't intentional at first. I found you in the forest. You only had one breath left. Females are precious. And I didn't know if you would survive. But I knew that if I left you in the forest, you definitely wouldn't survive. So I brought you back to my cave. The day I mated with you, I had gone hunting. That beast was a little difficult. I fought with him for a long time, and then chased him to an area full of red flowers. Today, when Yingfeng and I went hunting, we passed by that sea of flowers again. I asked him, and only then did I know that this flower is called Yuking flower. Its scent has an aphrodisiac effect. Usually, beastmen pick one or two for mating and flirting. Xuanqi's voice grew softer and softer as he spoke. So, I'm sorry, Qianqian, please don't hate the cubs, okay? I'm very powerful, I'm strong enough to support you and the cubs. He spoke with a slight choke, burying his head in Qianqian's shoulder. Qianqian felt the dampness on her shoulder. She reached out and patted his head. I know. Perhaps I should even thank you. You also saved my life. I just said I wouldn't hate the cubs. They're my children. What mother hates her children? Look at how we met. Perhaps the beast gods protected me. I was about to starve to death in the wild. You met me and brought me back to the cave and even gave me something to eat. And then I got pregnant with your cubs. Perhaps this is fate. She laughed at her own words, using the damned rhetoric from her previous life. Hearing her words, Xuanqi looked up, his eyes red and filled with unreadable emotions. At this moment, he secretly vowed in his heart that he would take good care of her and cherish her for the rest of his life. He would never let her suffer any grievances. She deserved this. On the way back, Qianqian and Xuanqi received a lot of attention. Who would have thought that the most disliked and unpopular female in the tribe would have a legendary, high-tiered beastman husband? And she was even pregnant with triplets. This also proved her extremely strong fertility. The beastmen in the tribe were discussing, "Is that the female beastman? We really underestimated her. Didn't she not get picked at the coming-of-age ceremony? Who would have thought that her thin body could carry 3 at once? Is this a 9-tiered beastman? So handsome, good-looking, and strong. What good luck does this female beastman have?" In the midst of the quiet discussions, Qianqian returned to the cave entrance, only to find that Coral's cave entrance was crowded with beastmen. As she wondered why, Coral's voice came from inside. "This is called a stone pot. This is a stone bowl. This is a spoon. This is a plate used to hold food." Coral was meticulously explaining everything to the gathered beastmen. It turned out that after Qianqian left, Coral started eating by herself. Who knew that in a little while the cave entrance would be full of beastmen? Coral was confused, asking them why they had all come and if they needed something from her. They all said they smelled a delicious aroma and followed it. Then they saw the stone pot boiling food. They pointed at the stone pot, expressing great curiosity, and eagerly asked for all the information about it. Coral then explained to them. Meanwhile, some beastmen saw Qianqian returning and quickly shouted, "Coral, Qianqian's back!" By now, the name Qianqian was known by every beastman in the Lion King tribe. Hearing that Qianqian was back, Coral immediately ran out. The other beastmen automatically made a path. Coral, holding Qianqian's hand, walked into the cave, saying, "Qianqian, come quickly. They're all here to learn. They also want stone pots and bowls." Qianqian looked at the crowd filling the cave and was a little surprised. "You all want stone pots?" The beastmen all nodded. "Yes, we all want them. We also want to learn how to cook food," Coral said excitedly. "Qianqian, this way of cooking meat you taught me makes the meat so delicious. Do you know how they found out? They followed the smell. I never thought I'd be looked at with such admiration by so many people. I'm so happy." Qianqian then remembered that these beastmen didn't know how to use utensils. Females wouldn't eat raw meat, so males would just roast it over a fire and give it to them. For males, it was even simpler. They ate prey raw. "Well, since I'm here, I'll make the best of it," she thought. "Let me, who has 1,000 years of cultural heritage, teach everyone. Later, you all call your mates and we'll go to the water. I'll eat first, and once I'm full, we'll set off." Everyone agreed in unison, then went home to call their mates. Coral sat to the side, looking at her with worshipful and excited eyes. Qianqian felt a little uncomfortable under her gaze. "Why are you looking at me like that? Do I have flowers on my face? I'm just happy. They just came to me, saying they also wanted a stone pot and wanted to trade prey for the method. I told them this stone pot was made by you, And these utensils too. They were all shocked. Just thinking about their faces then makes me feel so good. She truly felt great. Previously, those females in the tribe had looked down on the thin and Qian, but now not only did she have a super powerful mate, but she also had the strong fertility they envied. Even the stone pots and bowls they wanted were invented by Qian. It was a satisfying slap to everyone's face. So good, Qian smiled. As long as you're happy, I'll teach you more things later. Hearing her words, Coral's eyes sparkled. From today on, she was Qian's #1 fan. As Qian was eating, there was more commotion at the cave entrance. Quickly, give this prey to Qian. Quickly, give this animal skin to Qian. Coral and Qian exchanged glances, then walked out together. The cave entrance was filled with beastmen, the females who wanted stone pots, and their mates. The entrance was piled high with things: prey, animal skins, some unknown fruits, and a few sapphire-like objects. Qian was stunned. What is this for? This is our thank you gift. Please don't be shy. We can't let you teach us for free. Yes, we heard you're pregnant with cubs. You're so thin, you must eat more. Look, this piece of meat will nourish your body, they said happily, each looking excited. Coral also urged Qian from the side. Qian, just accept it. It's everyone's kind intention. Qian nodded. She wouldn't take it for free. She still had many things to teach them later. Then thank you, everyone. I'll have Coral notify you later to gather at the tribe entrance. After bidding farewell to everyone, Qian looked at the pile of supplies on the ground, falling into a state of melancholy. How am I going to put all this away? Coral, do you see anything you like? Take whatever you want. Coral quickly waved her hands. No, I don't want anything. I lack nothing. This is everyone's thank you gift to you. Seeing her troubled face, Xuanqi, who had been standing by the side, smiled and spoke. Qian, are you wondering how to store all these things? Yes, our cave can't hold all of it. Xuanqi walked behind her, put one arm around her waist, and with a wave of his other hand, the piled-up supplies instantly disappeared. Seeing this scene, Qianqian's eyes widened in surprise. Is this a spatial ability like in novels? It just put everything away in an instant? Her eyes sparkled as she looked up at Xuanqi, her voice excited. Is that a spatial ability? Xuanqi found her a little cute. She looked like a little cub who had discovered something fun. I have 3 abilities: ice, fire, and space. As soon as he finished speaking, Yingfeng's pupils dilated in shock. He actually had 3 abilities, 2 natural elemental abilities, and 1 spatial ability. No wonder he was a 9-tiered beastman. Qian was truly excited at this moment. She had only read about these in novels, but she never expected to witness them firsthand one day. You're too amazing. Is your space the kind that can keep food fresh? My space is controlled by my thoughts. I can make it stay in its current state forever. Xuanqi answered with a smile, then picked her up and walked into the cave. Let's eat properly first. Eat more! I can cook with the stone pot now. I'll cook for you tonight. Xuanqi set him down in front of the pot, took the bowl from his hand, and filled it for him again. Only after Qian finished eating did Coral excitedly stand up. Qian, I'll go notify them to gather at the tribe entrance first. I'll be right over after I get ready. Okay, I'll be there in a bit. As Coral turned, Yingfeng immediately transformed into his beast form, a majestic lion. After Coral climbed onto him, they left the cave. This big lion is really handsome, Qian thought to herself. She turned to look at Xuanqi, a sly smile on her face. I want to see your beast form. Xuanqi was amused by his sneaky look. He said, all right, spoiling him, and then transformed into his beast form. He deliberately shrank himself a lot, otherwise, given his rank, the cave probably wouldn't be big enough to accommodate him. Qian exclaimed, your beast form is so beautiful. Its shiny black scales shimmer with vibrant colors in the sunlight. This must be the colorful black they talk about. She couldn't help but reach out and touch it. The texture is so nice, it'll be so cool if he stays in his beast form to sleep at night. As if suddenly remembering something, Xuanqi transformed back into human form, then produced several sapphire-like stones. Looking at the glowing blue stones, Qian was puzzled. What are these? Xuanqi took her hand and placed 10 landling stones in it, then took out a full bag and placed it in her hand. Qian took the stones and examined them carefully. They're quite pretty, Xuanqi explained. These are called landling stones. They are the currency circulated among beastmen. When we go hunting, some prey will have these spirit stones in their bodies. Spirit stones can be used by males for leveling up. For females, they can strengthen the body. High-grade spirit stones can even increase a female's lifespan. However, if females use spirit stones, they need a male's help, because generally, females don't have abilities. Qian caught an important point. Generally, females don't have abilities, so that means some females can also awaken abilities? Well, Xuanqi nodded. That's true, but it's very rare. Females who awaken abilities usually become witch doctors. Those with outstanding abilities even become high-level witch doctors, and they generally live in super tribes. Super tribes. Changqian suddenly felt that it was necessary for her to learn more about the beast world's culture. Xuanqi said somewhat indulgently, "You take this bag of landling stones. If it's not enough, I'll give you more. I have many purple gold stones in my space too." Purple gold stones too? She wondered again. Seeing her confused expression, Xuanqi felt a little heartache for her. A female who didn't even know what landling stones and purple gold stones were. With a thought, a purple gold stone appeared in his hand. He placed the spirit stone in her palm and explained carefully, "Landling stones are the lowest quality spirit stones. Ordinary wild beasts will have them inside. Purple gold stones are a higher grade than landling stones, only found in higher tiered wild beasts. Above that are red spirit stones and black spirit stones. Black spirit stones are priceless. If we convert them to beastman ranks, landling stones are equivalent to a 3-tiered beastman, purple gold stones are equivalent to a 5-tiered beastman, red spirit stones are equivalent to an 8-tiered beastman, and black spirit stones are said to be equivalent to a 12-tiered beastman. In the continents I've traveled, let alone a 12-tiered beastman, there are only 2 9-tiered beastmen in total, and I'm one of them. So on this continent, you can walk sideways, because I am invincible." Qian looked at him, a complex emotion welling up in her heart. She didn't understand what it was, but at this moment she wanted to kiss him. "Lower your head." Xuanqi obediently lowered his head. The next second, a warm lip touched his. Feeling the warmth on his lips, Xuanqi's tongue tightened suddenly. He picked her up and deepened the kiss. "Who understood?" When he said, "You can walk sideways, because I am invincible," it truly made a beast's heart flutter. When they stopped, both their faces were flushed. "We should go, or Coral and the others will wait too long." Changqian placed the spirit stones in his hand. With a thought, Xuanqi put them back into his space, then carried her towards the water. Seeing Changqian arrive, Coral immediately called everyone to the water. Qian looked at the surging crowd in surprise. "Are there really so many beastmen?" Coral smiled and said, "Yes, word spread from 1 to 10, then from 10 to 100. The whole tribe knows. Almost every beastman who's free came." When everyone reached the water, Changqian stood to the side, guiding everyone on what kind of stones to look for to make stone pots. Then Yingfeng began the cutting demonstration. After some effort, everyone had a smooth stone pot in their hands. At this point, Qian noticed the large trees by the water, and a thought sparked in her mind. Stone bowls were still a bit heavy, but wooden bowls would be very convenient. "Husband, cut that tree from this spot and then split it in half." "Husband? What's husband?" Although Xuanqi was puzzled, he knew Changqian was talking to him. He slightly raised his hand, and an ultra-thin ice blade quickly flew through the air. The giant tree fell with a crash, and with another ice blade, the tree was split into 2 halves. Changqian directed her husband to cut the tree into pieces, while also directing Yingfeng to make wooden bowls, just like they made stone bowls. Stone bowls are still a bit heavy and not very convenient. Today, I'll teach everyone how to make wooden bowls. Soon, a set of tableware was made. Each piece was polished very smoothly. All the beastmen were stunned. Xuanqi was also surprised. He hadn't expected it could be done this way. His partner was truly amazing. Next, everyone followed the steps to make a set. After everyone had made their bowls, Qian originally planned to return directly to the tribe, but then she suddenly remembered that without a beastman with a water ability, getting water would be very inconvenient. So she decided to make a water storage tool. Qian chose a relatively thick tree and had Xuanqi cut it down, then divided it into several sections. She hollowed out the center of the wood and then polished it. Soon, a large wooden bucket was made. Changqian also instructed them to make a lid and a wooden ladle for scooping water. Qian explained each of these tools one by one, even demonstrating how to use them. "All right, This is a clean wooden bucket that can store water. Everyone knows how now, right? If you do, then start making them. Soon, others followed suit. Coral took the ladle Yingfeng had made and immediately scooped a ladle of water from the water's edge. Then her eyes lit up. Tianqian is truly too smart. After all that hard work, Tianqian was hungry. In fact, she had been hungry for a while, thinking of waiting until everyone was done before going back, but now she couldn't wait any longer. She glanced at the man beside her. The man immediately put his arm around her waist and softly asked if she was tired or hungry. Tianqian nodded in his arms. "I'm hungry. I want to eat fried meat." Hearing this, Xuanqi immediately picked her up and returned to the cave. Before long, Tianqian was happily eating fried beef at home. He once again marveled at how amazing the meat quality was in this beast world. It was truly fatty, tender, and fresh. Even many of the steaks he had eaten in his previous life weren't this delicious. Xuanqi flipped the meat in the pot, smiling as he looked at him. "You seem to really like this beast meat." Tianqian ate with a look of pure satisfaction. "This meat is so delicious. It's fatty and tender. Then I'll catch more so you can eat your fill." Looking at the handsome man in front of her, frying meat for her while subtly speaking sweet words, she suddenly felt that the hardships she endured earlier weren't in vain. Having a husband was indeed good. She could eat her fill every meal. While Tianqian was still eating with relish, many beastmen had already arrived outside the cave. At this moment, Coral also came to the cave entrance. Tianqian, are you full? Everyone's waiting outside. I'll go tell them once you're full." Tianqian found Coral's excited appearance inexplicably funny. She was like a little sun, always full of energy. 5 minutes later, Tianqian's cave was filled with beastmen. After directing them to their positions, Tianqian began teaching. First, she taught them how to render oil, then how to use oil to fry meat, how to use the pot to boil food, and even how to use some seasonings. Xuanqi assisted her from the side. At this moment, Tianqian was like a kindergarten teacher, and the beastmen stood obediently, listening intently, their faces filled with admiration. There was another burst of excited discussion. Tianqian was starting to feel sleepy. She had taught them enough. "I need to rest now." As soon as Tianqian said she needed to rest, Xuanqi immediately picked her up and walked into the cave, then carefully placed her on the straw nest. "Sleep well. Call me if anything happens." Tianqian had wanted to say something, but she fell asleep the next second. Looking at her sleeping, Xuanqi's heart felt warm. He again infused some energy into his abdomen. With enough energy, the cubs would be quiet and wouldn't absorb his energy. When Xuanqi returned outside, everyone had already helped clean everything up. The pots were spotless, and they eagerly rushed home to experiment with what they had learned. Tianqian slept very soundly. When she woke up, it was already the next morning. "Why am I waking up so early?" Seeing her wake up, Xuanqi immediately picked him up and walked towards the cave entrance. After a few days of living together, he was already very familiar with some of Tianqian's habits. For example, after waking up in the morning, she must clean her mouth with fragrant wood branches, then wash her face with water, and only then can she eat. Tianqian rubbed her eyes and replied, "Maybe I went to bed early yesterday, so I woke up early today." Xuanqi asked him while starting a fire, "Are we still eating fried meat today?" Tianqian nodded. "Have you noticed that my sleeping time is getting longer and my appetite has increased a lot?" Xuanqi explained, "It's normal for your sleep to increase and your appetite to grow when you're pregnant with cubs. Moreover, you're carrying Xuan King's snake cubs. Your current appetite isn't even that big yet. It will be even larger after 45 days. Tianqian had wondered what it would be like to be a mother, but she never expected to actually become one. "And the babies are 3 snakes! So how long until I give birth to the cubs?" "It takes over 2 months to carry the cubs. When the cubs are born, I'll need to go out hunting again. It will take about 60 days, Xuanqi said. But as he finished speaking, he suddenly realized that Tianqian currently only had him as a mate. After the cubs were born, he would have to go out hunting, which meant he wouldn't be able to take care of her. Xuanqi frowned, his expression a little melancholic. He hadn't initially considered finding more mates for Tianqian because he was stronger than any matchmaker, and he was perfectly capable of taking care of and protecting her. But now, once he lays snake eggs, he'll have to incubate them for 2 months. He can't leave the snake eggs. Snake eggs have specific requirements for temperature and humidity. Once he starts incubating, he'll memorize their temperature. If you were to leave the eggs, the little snakes inside would directly stop growing and become dead eggs. Therefore, he would have to incubate for 2 months. Without eating or drinking, he wouldn't be able to hunt once the little snakes were born. Noticing his sudden change in expression, Qianqian's heart skipped a beat. She quickly asked, "What's wrong? Why do you suddenly look so upset?" Xuanqi crouched down in front of her, looking at her seriously. "Qianqian, after the snake eggs are laid, I'll have to incubate them. During those 2 months of incubation, I can't leave the snake eggs, otherwise our cubs won't hatch." Qianqian's worried heart settled. She thought it was a big deal. Once the cubs are born, you can focus on incubating them. Xuanqi's tone was serious. "Xuanqian, when I say I can't leave the snake eggs, it means I won't be able to take care of you or go hunting. You need to find another mate, or even more. In the beast world, almost every female has at least 4 or 5 mates, and some even have dozens." Although he didn't want to, it was indeed unreasonable for Qianqian to only have him as a mate. Qianqian's mind buzzed at this. Is this big husband trying to find her a second husband? Qianqian comforted him. "I can take care of myself. You just focus on incubating the eggs then. How can you take care of yourself in your current state? Before I came, you were eating spiny beasts to fill your stomach. If I can't go hunting, are you going to eat spiny beasts again?" Xuanqi was a little angry. What could she possibly take care of herself with? Qianqian rubbed her nose sheepishly. "These beastmen are strangely cute, calling fish spiny beasts. It's still spring now, plants are growing fast, and so are wild beasts, so there's no shortage of food. But then the harsh rainy season and cold season will come. I might not be able to take good care of you alone, especially during the cold season. I'll hibernate. Hunting is the hardest during the cold season. If you only have me as a mate, you might not even survive the cold season. Besides, we have cubs now, so my suggestion is that you need to find more powerful partners." Xuanqi spoke very seriously, and Qianqian also became serious. It was true that food was hard to find during the cold season. Therefore, beastmen would start hoarding food in the spring. Qianqian began to recall her memories. In her memories, this body's father and mother had already started digging caves and storing food at this time of year. Once the cold season arrived, plants would wither everywhere, and wild beasts would hardly come out, let alone during the rainy and cold seasons. The rainy season would be full of water, and they'd have to worry about their home being flooded. If it flooded, they would have to move to higher ground. Moreover, snakes would uncontrollably hibernate during the cold season, and Xuanqi wouldn't be able to take care of her. With her small arms and legs, how could she find food in the cold season? Thinking of this, Qianqian sighed. "I understand." At this moment, a voice came from the cave entrance. "Qianqian, are you awake?" Qianqian wondered. "Who's calling me?" Xuanqi said, "I'll go out and see," then turned and walked out. Shortly after, the blonde beastman they had seen last time walked in. Qianqian immediately recognized him. This beastman was the one celebrating that day. You're not that, Seeing his stammering, Han Xuan immediately felt awkward. He thought Qianqian at least knew who he was. "My name is Han Xuan, and Chief Lishan is my father." "Han Xuan, what do you need me for?" At this moment, Xuanqi, standing to the side, was carefully scrutinizing Han Xuan. The last time he came to find Qianqian, it seemed he was the one who led the way. The son of the 7-tiered beastman chief, he looked decent enough, although not as good as him, he wasn't bad. Han Xuan smiled at Qianqian. "I came to understand some things. May I sit down and talk?" "Sit, please sit." Qianqian pointed to a stone stool, gesturing for him to sit. "It's like this. I wanted to ask how much meat the tribe used to send you and how much you received." Qianqian was confused by his words. "What does that mean? Does he want the meat back?" Xuanqi, standing to the side, narrowed his eyes. A dangerous aura filled the air. If this kid was here to take the meat back, he would throw him out directly. It had to be said that Han Xuan was truly insensitive. Even Qianqian could feel Xuanqi's displeasure, yet he sat there calmly, as if nothing was wrong. Qianqian spoke faintly. "What does that mean? Did you see that I have a mate now? And you want to take back what you gave me?" Han Xuan quickly and anxiously explained. No, how could that be?" "I wanted to ask, the meat my father gave you each time wasn't small. For a female, it was completely enough to eat. So why did you end up eating spiny beasts to fill your stomach?" This statement made Qianqian silent. She began to recall her memories. On my first and second days in the tribe, the meat sent by the tribe was indeed a lot. Completely enough for me to eat alone. But later, the meat became less and less, especially after the coming-of-age ceremony. The meat that was sent was only enough for one meal. I was so hungry I had no choice but to go everywhere to find food. After listening to Changqian's words, Han Xuan's face darkened slightly. Actually, our tribe doesn't have a tradition of sending meat to females, and the meat that was sent to you was actually my father's own food. He shared a large piece of his own food with you. Changqian's mouth twitched. So where did that food go? Han Xuan was now certain that something was definitely wrong in one of the intermediate steps, which was why she received so little meat. At this moment, a slender hand handed over a bowl full of meat. Quote, "Qianqian, it's time to eat." Qianqian looked at Xuanqi beside her. At this moment, he looked like a mate who had been abandoned, his eyes full of resentment. He had probably been so absorbed in talking with Han Xuan that he didn't even notice when Xuanqi had finished frying the meat. Qianqian took the bowl with both hands and gave him a sweet smile. "Thank you, my very, very best little snake." Xuanqi, who had originally been unhappy, had his displeasure completely swept away after hearing that sentence. A blush spread across his face and he stammered, You're welcome. This is what I should do as your mate. Is it good?" "There's more after you finish." Changqian ate while smiling and nodding at him. Xuanqi couldn't help but smile, then continued to focus on frying the meat. At this point, Han Xuan had also understood the situation. "I apologize for disturbing you so early. I'll go back and investigate this. I'll notify you when I have results. Then I'll be leaving." With that, he swiftly left. He walked so fast that Changqian didn't even have time to say anything before he was out of sight. "He hasn't finished asking yet," Qianqian mumbled softly. From Han Xuan's words, it wasn't hard to guess that her meat must have been embezzled. She carefully thought back, trying to find the image of the beastman who delivered the meat in her memories. It was because of that damned beastman who embezzled the meat that the original owner starved to death. As she was thinking, the bowl in front of her was taken by a large hand. "What's wrong? Are you interested in that Han Xuan? You look heartbroken as soon as he leaves. If you want him as a mate, I'll go snatch him for you," Xuanqi said, stuffing the bowl full of meat back into her hand. Qianqian took the bowl, looking at him with narrowed eyes while eating the meat. "What a strong smell of jealousy." Qianqian wanted to tease him. She said playfully, "Really? You can just snatch him?" Xuanqi's hand, which was frying meat, suddenly paused. Then he put down his chopsticks and sat looking at the cave entrance. Good heavens, he's really taken with that lion. He said he'd snatch him, and he really wants him. Seeing him sulk, Changqian found it amusing. She stood up, walked over to him, and crouched down, looking at him. "Why are you still unhappy? Didn't you say you'd snatch him for me as a mate?" "I agreed, so why are you still angry?" Changqian really wanted to burst out laughing at this moment, but she hadn't had enough fun yet, so she held it in. Xuanqi looked at her half-smiling face, unable to say anything for a long time. He simply turned to the other side, not looking at her. At this moment, he also didn't understand. He had told her earlier that he would find her a new mate, but now, actually seeing her interested in another beastman, and even agreeing for him to snatch him back as a mate, he felt uncomfortable. Suddenly, a pair of hands embraced him from behind. A gentle voice sounded behind him. "I'm just teasing you. When did I ever take an interest in Han Xuan? I was just thinking about how Han Xuan would punish the beastman who embezzled my meat if he found him." Changqian leaned against his back, saying with a hint of sadness, "If the punishment is light, I won't be happy, because I almost starved to death back then. If the punishment is heavy, I don't think it can be that heavy. After all, I'm still here, perfectly fine." Suddenly, with a spin, Changqian was straddling his lap, facing him. This position inexplicably made her heart race. Xuanqi stared into her eyes and said with a firm tone, "If you want, I can kill him for you." Changqian fell silent. She wanted that beastman who embezzled the meat to pay the price, but she didn't think it was necessary to kill him. However, the original owner couldn't have died in vain. She suddenly felt so tired. "What should I do? I'm sleepy. I want to go to sleep." Changqian leaned into his embrace, as if deflated. "I don't want to think about it now. We'll talk about it later." His good wife picked her up and walked into the cave, then gently placed her on the straw nest. "Sleep. I'll be outside. Call me if you need anything." When Changqian dimly woke up, she saw a worried Xuanqi in front of her. Changqian rubbed her eyes and asked, "What's wrong?" Seeing her awake, Xuanqi's hanging heart finally settled. He half crouched in front of her. "You slept for a whole day and haven't eaten anything. I was very worried about you. He had infused a lot of energy into her while she was sleeping, afraid that the cubs would devour her own energy. Pian, are you hungry? What do you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Anything is fine. I am a little hungry, you decide. Okay? Then I'll still fry meat for you. Everyone caught some cows today and brought them over. It's enough for you to eat for a while, Schwanke said with a smile, taking out a large piece of beef from his space. With a slight movement of his fingers, the large piece of meat had already turned into many small pieces. Just then, Coral and Yingfeng walked in from outside. Coral's face was happy. Qianqian, you're finally awake. I haven't seen you all day. I missed you terribly. Qianqian smiled and replied, Hehe, I slept for a long time today. It even scared my mate. At this moment, Xuanqi was frying meat. Hearing Qianqian's voice, he looked up at her seriously. You really scared me. I know pregnant females sleep a lot, but you slept for an entire day without eating or drinking. Gee. Qianqian walked over and sat in front of him, touching his face. I'm sorry, I made you worry. It's nothing. Xuanqi stammered, and if anyone looked closely, they'd notice his ears were completely red. Qianqian, you have no idea. Today, everyone carried a cow over, and the females brought fruits, animal skins, and everything else. They piled them all up at the cave entrance. Coral recalled the morning scene, sighing with emotion. It was even livelier than a tribal celebration. As she spoke, Coral suddenly sat beside Qianqian, looking at her with a hint of heartache. I remember you used to eat those spiky beasts, but it's good you don't have to anymore. There's so much meat here, we can't even finish it, Qianqian said with a smile. Actually, spiky beasts are edible. Even though they have a lot of spikes, their meat is very delicious, especially for making fish soup. It seems I need to teach them more about fish. The fish in this beast world are incredibly tasty. He remembered how delicious the roasted fish was when he first tried it, so fragrant and sweet. He couldn't even imagine how good it would taste in soup. Coral looked confused. Spiky beasts are delicious? Yes, spiky beasts are really tasty. You just don't know how to eat them. When I couldn't get enough food before, I'd go to the back mountain and catch spiky beasts to roast and eat. They were so good. I caught all the spiky beasts from the back mountain, ha ha ha, Qianqian said, laughing. But everyone looked at her with pity and heartache. Just then, a wooden bowl full of meat was offered to her. Xuanqi looked at her expectantly. Quick, try it. How's my cooking today? He had no experience taking care of a female, and he always struggled with the heat when frying meat. He had secretly practiced a lot. Qianqian looked at his eager expression, took her chopsticks, picked up a piece of meat, and ate it. So delicious. Xuanqi, your cooking has gotten even better. Hearing her praise, Xuanqi's heart bloomed with joy, but he only managed a faint smile on his face. Coral said somewhat awkwardly, I'm so greedy, can I have some too? She knew it might seem rude, but she was genuinely tempted. Qianqian quickly handed the bowl over. Eat! Eat! My mate's cooking is excellent, you should try it. As Qianqian spoke, she secretly glanced at Xuanqi from the corner of her eye. Although she didn't think Xuanqi was a stingy person, this was meat he had fried for her, and she was sharing it like this. She was afraid he might be a little unhappy. Xuanqi continued frying the meat, smiling. If it's not enough, there's more in the pot. He saw Qianqian secretly looking at him, and found it a little amusing. She was too cute. Of course, he wouldn't mind Coral eating the meat he fried. On the contrary, he was very grateful for the Coral family's care for Qianqian. Being good to Qianqian was being good to him. Xuanqi turned around, smiling at Yingfeng, who was standing beside him. Yingfeng felt his gaze and looked at him curiously. What do you want? Oh, nothing much. I just want you to cut up all the beef in my space into small pieces so it'll be easier for me to cook for Qianqian later. Yingfeng didn't understand. You're a 9-tiered big shot. Cutting meat into small pieces is just a flick of your finger, isn't it? Why do you need my help? Xuanqi glanced at him, speaking airily. My power is too strong. Even the lowest power fire blade would cook the meat directly, and an ice blade would freeze the meat, and then I'd have to thaw it, which is troublesome. Yingfeng's face darkened with black lines upon hearing this. Damn it, why do I feel like I'm being subtly mocked? Next, Yingfeng began cutting meat with a dark expression, while Xuanqi put the meat pieces into his space. During this time, he didn't stop frying meat. One hand put in meat, the other fried and flipped it. Qianqian and Coral were both stunned watching. Qianqian, don't you think your mate has gotten more handsome? Coral asked, eating meat and staring at her own mate who was using his ability to cut meat. Jiangqian also ate and watched. Yes he has. Right? I suddenly feel like my mate has become so charming and handsome too. Our thoughts are indeed the same. Qian felt a bit amused, knowing why Coral said that. It's because men who are serious about their work are the most charming. Qian slowly leaned towards Coral, then whispered slyly, "You like him so much, why don't you have a cub with Yingfeng? Preferably one that looks like him. Then you'll have a miniature Yingfeng." Coral's eyes lit up immediately. A miniature Yingfeng sounds pretty good. Coral directly said, "Yingfeng, you sleep with me tonight." Yingfeng was a little surprised. It wasn't his turn to sleep with Coral tonight. Why did she suddenly ask him? Xuanqi, on the side, subtly glanced at his own mate, a smile playing on his lips. At this moment, Qian didn't realize that her single sentence was about to cause a certain male to lose his turn. Coral had 5 mates, and each mate took turns sleeping with Coral. Tonight, it was Quaze's turn to sleep with Coral. At this moment, in a nearby cave, Quaze was meticulously arranging tonight's sleeping bed, eagerly anticipating the night. Soon, Qian and Coral were full. Yingfeng helped Xuanqi pack and clean everything. After that, Coral also said goodbye to Qian and went home. A few hours later, Quaze looked at Coral with a wounded expression. It was supposed to be his turn to sleep with Coral tonight, but after he went out for a while, it turned into Yingfeng accompanying her instead. He had meticulously prepared for a while. Looking at Quaze's wounded expression, Coral felt embarrassed. It was indeed his turn to sleep with her, so suddenly changing people was a bit unfair to him. Coral said somewhat awkwardly, Then both of you sleep with me." Upon hearing this, both their eyes lit up. After nightfall, the area outside the cave was pitch black. If one listened closely, they could faintly hear ambiguous sounds. Qian snuggled in Xuanqi's arms, gently caressing her belly. "You said that after 60 days, you'll be able to sense if they're male cubs or female cubs, right?" Xuanqi placed his hand on her lower abdomen and said gently, But I guess they'll probably all be male cubs. In my clan, I haven't heard of any female cubs being born." Qian felt a little unconvinced. What if they are female cubs then? Not having seen them doesn't mean they don't exist, right? Xuanqi thought for a moment. If they're female cubs, then I'll definitely protect them well and not let them suffer any harm. My Xuanqi's female cubs deserve the best in this world. Qian's mouth twitched. So he's a doting father for daughters, huh? Qian suddenly wanted to tease him, and she asked slyly, "What about male cubs then? Is it the same for male cubs?" But Xuanqi said mercilessly, "Male cubs will be directly thrown out to live independently." This statement completely startled Qian. She immediately sat up and looked at him. "Xuanqi, if you dare throw my sons out to live outside, I'll abandon you as a mate." Qian was a little angry. She had painstakingly carried and given birth to the cubs, and he actually said he would just throw them out. If he dared to throw the children out, she would throw him out first. Xuanqi couldn't quite understand her reaction. In the beast world, males were supposed to be independent. Many male cubs, even when they were young, would follow their fathers out to hunt. This was very dangerous, but also a test. Weak males were not fit to live. This was the rule of the beast world. Xuanqi was silent for a while, then sat up and looked at her. "If you abandon me as a mate, then who will take care of you? If you can't bear to part with the cubs, then you can keep them by your side for a while. I can afford to raise them." Hearing this, Qian became even angrier. What do you mean? What do you mean, keep them by your side for a while?" Xuanqi didn't understand why she was so angry. He didn't dare say much. Qian's emotions surged at this moment. "What do you mean, keep them by your side for a while?" Xuanqi explained, "In my lineage, the Xuan King Snake clan is like this. From birth, I was directly thrown out by my father to live independently, so I've been fighting for survival since I was little. My 9-tiered power didn't come easily. Talent is very important, but effort is also very important. It's the same for male cubs of other races. Males must be strong, otherwise, how can they support themselves and their mates?" Xuanqi's words calmed Qian down. She had forgotten that she was now living in an alternate beast world, not the modernized 21st century. "Right, I'm sorry, I was a bit emotional. This world is cruel. If you're not strong enough, you'll become food for wild beasts. Just like when I first transmigrated, I could barely get enough to eat by catching fish." Xuanqi looked at Qian, who looked dejected and felt a little heartache. Forget it, he's a 9-tiered beastman after all. There aren't many mates who can be his match. If she can't bear to part with the cubs, then let them stay by her side. We'll figure out how to teach them then. Qian, if you can't bear to part with the cubs, then keep them by your side. I'm very strong. Taking care of you all isn't a problem, as long as you're happy. Hearing his words, Qian looked up at him directly, staring without saying a word. Xuanqi felt a little uneasy being looked at like that. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? Qian said nothing, just hugged him tightly. She knew he regarded her as very important enough to abandon the rules of the beast world for her. Qian just held him like that, and he silently wrapped his arms around her. After a long time, Qian softly asked, Xuanqi, will you be completely loyal and protect me? Hearing this, Xuanqi hugged the person in his arms even tighter. He answered seriously and firmly, Of course. Qian, we've already become mates. You are the beloved I will protect with my life. You don't need to doubt that. They embraced each other for a while, neither speaking, just holding each other tightly. During this time, Qian made a decision. She decided to tell Xuanqi about her 21st century soul. She wasn't acting impulsively. As a soul from the 21st century, it was destined that she couldn't continue living in the primitive beastman way. The stone pot and utensils were just the beginning. Although the beastmen were simple-minded and got along very well, no one had raised questions about this aspect. But once someone did, everyone would realize that what she was doing was too far ahead of its time, at least for this tribe. In the future, she would definitely create other things and might even recognize more plants. It would definitely be impossible to keep it a secret from Xuanqi. He would suspect sooner or later, and he had traveled to many places before and seen so much, making it even easier for him to discover. So Qian decided to tell him everything, trusting Xuanqi. Qian pulled away from his embrace and looked at him very seriously. Xuanqi, I want to ask you, no matter what I do, will you always stand by my side? Seeing her seriousness, Xuanqi answered just as earnestly, Of course. No matter what you do, I will always stand by your side. After taking a deep breath, Qian slowly said, I have something to tell you. It might sound a bit incredible, but it's the truth. If you have any thoughts, you can tell me. It was rare to see Qian so serious, so Xuanqi quickly sat up straight and nodded at her. Quote, Xuanqi, actually, I'm not the real Qian. I transmigrated from another world, Qian said, carefully watching his expression, but it was clear Xuanqi didn't quite understand. Actually, before you found me, the owner of this body had already died. I just happened to transmigrate and possess this body. You could say that as soon as I had breath again, you found me. Can you understand? Xuanqi thought for a moment and asked, Does that mean the original beastman who owned this body is dead, and you transmigrated to occupy this body and then revived? Is that right? Qian felt a little anxious. Yes, that's right. The original Qian is dead. The current me is a different Qian. Xuanqi showed no expression. For a moment, she couldn't guess his thoughts at all. And then? This, and then, completely flustered Qian. She had imagined many scenarios, him treating her like a monster, even pushing her out and telling everyone, but she never expected this kind of reaction. Is that it? I said I'm not the owner of this body, and I'm not from this world. Aren't you surprised? Don't you have anything to say? Qian only felt that this scene was too bizarre. Her wise husband pulled the person in front of him back into his arms. Surprised, yes, but does that matter? You are you, and it's you I live with. Does it matter if you're the original Qian? He didn't care about what she said, about transmigration or not being the original owner of the body. He only knew that the person he was holding was her, and that was enough. Qian never expected him to react this way. At this moment, she only felt that her originally empty heart was suddenly filled with something. Suddenly, she heard a soft sniffle from the person in his arms. Xuanqi immediately panicked. Qian, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with me? Don't cry, tell me what's wrong and I'll change it. Xuanqi comforted her tenderly, but Qian cried even louder. Qian looked up at him. Why don't you mind at all that I transmigrated to this world? Aren't you scared? Looking at her swollen red eyes from crying, Xuanqi felt a pang of heartache. Mind what? Mind that you're not the original owner of this body? He looked directly into her eyes. Qian, you seem to have always misunderstood one thing. You said you transmigrated and then I found you, right? Qian nodded like a pecking chick. Well, there you have it. From beginning to end, the only person I've known is you. From the very beginning, the one who met me was you. What is there for me to mind? Qianqian's heart suddenly skipped a beat. It seemed to be true. The emotions accumulated in her heart suddenly completely let go. Yes, it was after she transmigrated that she had interactions with Xuanqi. The beastman Qianqian had died long ago. Seeing her mood gradually improve, Xuanqi breathed a sigh of relief. You ask why I'm not scared? I'm a 9-tiered beastman. On this continent, there are probably not even 2 who can be my match. What can a weak female like you do to me? After Qianqian understood, she felt like she was shattering. Is it true that pregnancy makes you silly for 3 years? She thought she was a very smart person, but why had she become like this now? Xuanqi said seriously, Actually, Qianqian, when I watched you lead everyone in making stone pots and tools, I already felt that you must be somewhat different. How different? Qianqian felt that what he had thought before might be aligning. I've been to many places, and I've seen quite a few super tribes. But no tribe is like yours. Some tribes do eat cooked meat, but it's limited to just cooking the meat. Not to mention making stone pots and things like that. And you discovered the uses of plants like chili and ginger. This is enough to show that you are different. Xuanqi's words made Qianqian's heart sink, as she thought what she did was indeed too far ahead of its time and would definitely arouse suspicion. She fell into a momentary melancholy. Suddenly remembering something, Qianqian asked cautiously, You said, if others ask later, what if I say I have the power of nature ability? How about that? But as soon as she finished speaking, Xuanqi refuted her. No! Do you know what it means for a female to awaken the power of nature ability? If that news gets out, beastmen from super tribes will quickly come looking for you and take you away. It's already difficult for a female to awaken an ability, and the power of nature ability is even rarer. You would be trained by a high-level shaman and eventually succeed them as the next high-level shaman. But you haven't truly awakened an ability, and there will always be a day when that's exposed. At that time, you'll become a guilty beast, and a guilty beast will be killed. He had traveled to so many places, and only the high-level shaman of the Tuya tribe had the power of nature. After hearing Xuanqi's words, Qianqian deflated. She wasn't from this world after all. She had thought things too simply. It's late, quickly lie down and rest, Xuanqi said, pulling her into his arms and lying down. Qianqian felt another wave of emotion in her heart at this moment. No wonder everyone liked double-door refrigerators so much. Hugging him truly felt secure. Xuanqi, what names do you want to give the cubs after they're born? Xuanqi was silent at her question. He hadn't really considered this problem. You're the cubs, mother. You name them. I'll listen to you. Qianqian began to think. Soon, a name suddenly appeared in her mind. Xuanqi, I thought of a name. I think it's super good. Hearing the joy in her tone, Xuanqi was also infected. He chuckled and asked, What name? Huan? Does that sound good? Qianqian was very satisfied with this name. It had one character from her name and one from his. Xuanqi slowly and carefully pronounced it. Qianquan, Qianquan. It sounds good. It's truly a good name, Qianqian. You're really good at naming. Finally, Qianqian decided on the names for the 3 cubs. The eldest will be Qianquan, the second Xinyan, and the third Luobai. Qianqian was very satisfied. She couldn't help but sigh. She truly was a woman who had read countless novels. Just as she was thinking, a magnetic voice sounded in her ear. Qianqian, I'm very curious. What did you mean when you called me husband before? It's a term for a mate in my world. I see. Then call me that again. You haven't called me that in days. Qianqian's lips curved upward. Was he flirting? Husband, Qianqian called sweetly. This husband made Xuanqi's heart tingle. He lowered his voice. Call me again. Qianqian obediently and sweetly called out again. The next second, Qianqian was flipped over, and a passionate and fierce kiss landed on her. After a long while, Xuanqi finally let her go. But the next second, he quickly got up and walked towards the cave entrance. Qianqian, you sleep first. I'm going out for a bit. Qianqian watched him walk to the cave entrance, then move the water bucket next to it. Is it what he's thinking? After all these days, he had been very well behaved, showing no intention in that regard. She had thought he was quite ascetic. But she was wrong. However, she was pregnant with cubs now, so even if he had desires, he couldn't act on them. Xuanqi carried the water bucket outside and took a cold shower, but it was clear that the burning desire hadn't subsided one bit. The water in the bucket was already gone, so he directly transformed into his beast form, his tail coiling around the large wooden bucket, and headed straight for the water. Xuanqi soaked in the water for a long time. Finally suppressing that lustful urge, he let out a long sigh. Snakes were naturally lustful. He had never been with a female before, let alone mated. Whenever he went into heat, he would find a remote place to stay by himself, then suppress it with his power, and it was usually fine. But now that he had mated, if he didn't think about it, it was fine. But once the thought crossed his mind, it was truly... He still remembered those few days after he left. It was hell. Qianqian had intended to wait for him to return before sleeping, but she waited for a long time and didn't see him come back. Then she got tired and eventually fell asleep. This sleep made Qianqian feel incredibly refreshed. When she woke up, she saw him still lying beside her. Qianqian was a little surprised because in the previous days, he was never there when she woke up. Qianqian mumbled softly. Was he tired last night? The next second, Xuanqi pulled her into his arms. What are you mumbling about, Qianqian? Qianqian, I'm curious. How did you wake up? She spoke so softly, yet it still woke him up. I woke up when you woke up. When she turned over in her sleep, he woke up too. Did I wake you up? Were you tired last night? Xuanqi asked, confused. Tired? Why would I be tired? Qianqian, blushing, whispered, Didn't you go out last night? Xuanqi gave an earnest, evasive answer. Not tired. I just saw there was no water in the wooden bucket, so I went out and got a bucket of water back. I get it. Hihi, I believe you, my foot. Xuanqi kissed her on the forehead, then got up. Are you hungry? Today, let's try some energy meat and see how it works. Qianqian was very curious. What's energy meat? Xuanqi explained it to her from beginning to end. Energy meat was prey he caught in the misty forest. He hadn't dared to give it to Qianqian before because he was afraid her body was too weak to handle the energy all at once. Now, with the mate's mark nourishing her for 10 days and him transferring a good amount of energy to her, her physical condition should be fine. Qianqian was a little excited. This meat sounds good. Let's try it quickly. After Qianqian finished washing up, she sat by the stone pot, waiting for Xuanqi to start frying the meat. Xuanqi took the meat out of his space. He had already cleaned these pieces of meat, so he just put them directly into the pot to fry. Soon, the aroma of meat filled the entire cave. The smell of energy meat was different. It was more fragrant than ordinary wild beast meat. Qianqian swallowed her saliva. What kind of meat is this? It smells so much better than ordinary wild beast meat. Quote, this is Shiyang meat. It's very nourishing and full of energy. This is the kind of wild beast I usually hunt the most. It's only equivalent to the strength of a 7-tiered beastman though. Xuanqi spoke while flipping the meat in the pot. Qianqian's expression was a little conflicted. So it was lamb. In her previous life she couldn't eat lamb. She'd throw up every time she tried it, not for any other reason, but purely because lamb was too gamey for her. In the end, she gave up trying lamb and never ate it again. Xuanqi was focused on frying the meat and didn't notice Qianqian's expression. Soon, the meat was ready. Xuanqi picked up a small piece, blew on it, and after it cooled down a bit, he fed it to Qianqian. Qianqian frowned slightly as she ate it, but the next second she was very surprised. It's delicious, so fragrant and tender. I never expected this lamb to have no gamey smell at all. Instead, it's very tender and sweet. Is the meat quality of beastman really this good? After she finished eating the meat, Qianqian felt a little warm, but this feeling quickly disappeared. She guessed it was absorbed by the cubs. Just as Qianqian was enjoying her meal, a voice came from the cave entrance again. Qianqian, are you awake? The voice sounded a bit familiar. Qianqian looked at Xuanqi, who nodded and got up, walking towards the entrance. Before long, Xuanqi returned with Hanchuan. Qianqian continued eating her meat as she asked, Is there something you need me for? Hanchuan's face was a bit heavy at this moment. He looked at Qianqian with shame. I've investigated everything. The meat that was originally given to you was embezzled by a beastman named Huyue. Huyue is a 4th-tier beastman. Because of his soft personality, he hasn't found a mate. When he was delivering the meat, a female named China happened to see him. At first, China thought this was Huyu's own hunt and that he was delivering meat to Qianqian because he wanted to pursue Qianqian as a mate. Kina felt that such a capable male shouldn't be taken by a weak female who was inferior to him. So China began to approach Huyue, telling him that as long as he gave her the meat, she would become his mate. Huyu quickly stated that the meat wasn't his. The chief had asked him to deliver it to Qianqian. But after China knew the truth, she then said that Huyue only needed to give her half of the meat. Huyu was very tempted, but he still hadn't agreed. Huna felt that the temptation she offered wasn't enough, so she proactively engaged in relations with Huyu. Huyu rarely had contact with females, and he couldn't resist her temptation at all. Later, Huyue followed China's instructions and gave her half of the meat. After that, China became even more excessive, demanding more and more meat. In the end, only a small piece of meat reached Qianqian's hands. This is the full story of what happened. I came to ask you how you want to deal with Kina, that bad Kina. Qianqian was silent for a while. Then she said, how does the tribe plan to handle it? She wanted to see what kind of outcome the tribe would provide. If she wasn't satisfied, she wouldn't say anything more. If she wasn't satisfied, then she would state her own opinion. Of course, if they didn't agree, she wouldn't mind having Xuanqi go and reason with them. Han Xuan fell silent. China's character isn't very good, but she has two mates who are golden lion beastmen. Qianqian, would this be acceptable? Have Kina and Huyue apologize to you, and then their family will be responsible for all your food until the day you give birth. Han Xuan spoke while watching Qianqian's expression. Qianqian frowned slightly. Honestly, we don't lack food now. What kind of punishment is 30 days of food? She wasn't satisfied with this outcome. Qianqian suddenly spoke coldly. What if I say I'm not satisfied? Her indifferent attitude made Han Xuan's heart tremble. His fear had come true. Then, Qianqian, what do you want to do? Qianqian spoke very calmly. I want Kina and Huyue to be expelled from the tribe. Han Xuan's face was filled with dilemma. This is difficult to do. China is already a female of the tribe. Her father and mother are both golden lion beastmen, and two of her current mates are also golden lion beastmen. In comparison, Qianqian can't even be considered a female of the tribe yet. Even if they know Kina is in the wrong, the beastmen in the tribe will still favor China more. Moreover, if Kina is driven out, her father and mother will definitely cause trouble. Even if Kina is driven out, her mates will definitely follow her. There are several tribes living in this forest. Besides the Lion King tribe, the strongest in terms of strength is the Giant Elephant tribe, followed by the Black Wolf tribe, and finally the Fox tribe. After they leave the Lion King tribe, they will definitely find a tribe to join. If they have the intention to retaliate against the Lion King tribe, with their knowledge of the tribe, they could very likely unite with the new tribe to besiege the Lion King tribe. At that time, the tribe will be in deep trouble. Han Xuan said somewhat heavily, this might not be possible. He then explained all the things he had considered, only hoping Qianqian could understand. Unexpectedly, Qianqian's reaction was very calm, because she had guessed this outcome. Qianqian's tone suddenly became cold. I want China and Huyue to kneel from the tribe entrance all the way to my home and sincerely bow to me in apology. Besides that, there will be no discussion. Han Xuan was about to persuade her further, but the words caught in his throat. He knew Qianqian was serious this time. Seeing his hesitant look, Qianqian added coldly, this is my bottom line. If they're unwilling, I don't mind having my mate kill their mates. As soon as her words fell, Xuanqi's palm inadvertently raised a faint blue ice flame. In an instant, the temperature in the cave dropped by several degrees. Han Xuan knew this was his warning. I understand. I will have China and Huyu come to apologize to you. I'll take my leave now. With that, he got up and quickly walked out of the cave, Qianqian's grief and Xuanqi's comfort. After Han Xuan left, Qianqian no longer had the mood to eat. She just didn't understand. This Kina clearly had several mates, and their strength wasn't bad. Couldn't they support one more mate? Why did she do this? Why did she steal meat? She clearly knew that the original owner had no food source, and knew that no male liked her or took care of her. She knew all this, yet she still stole her meat. Some people are just born rotten. This beastman named Hu Yu was just as disgusting. The more Qianqian thought about it, the angrier she got. At this moment, she truly wished she could go and beat him up. As she thought, tears suddenly streamed down her face. Seeing Kangkyeon cry, her wise mate quickly stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. He was very distressed. "What's wrong? Why are you crying? If you're not satisfied, I'll kill them. Is that good?" "I am not satisfied. How can someone be so bad?" She clearly knew he had no food source, yet she still stole it. Her mind was filled with images of the original owner not being able to eat, dragging her skeletal body, picking wild fruits alone, just for a little bit of food to fill her stomach. Suan-ki was almost heartbroken to death. It was the first time he had seen Chiang-kyeon cry so heartbreakingly. Kang-kyeon was crying out of breath. She was completely immersed in sadness. She felt sorrow for the deceased beastman, Kang-kyeon. "You've done well enough, Kang-kyeon. If he could see you, he would understand you. Be good, don't cry anymore. Crying too much is not good for the cubs." Xuanqi had no other choice. He had to use the cubs as an excuse. Sure enough, when Kang-kyeon heard that it was not good for the cubs, she stopped crying loudly. Although she stopped crying, she was still trembling. Xuanqi gently patted her back to help her calm her breathing. Xuanqi soothed her softly, but a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. For Xuanqi, it would definitely be impossible to keep it a secret.